It's fun and laughter. The Hot Breakfast.
It is no doubt fun and laughter on the Hot Breakfast at exactly 13 minutes past the hour 8 o'clock on this wicked
Wednesday morning
on the hottest breakfast show in all of Africa.
Jeff Ennick on Hot. We've got a lovely lady in the studio right now.
She just happens to be the Vice President of the Public Relations Society of Kenya. And there's a bill which is in cabinet right now, which is going to streamline and hopefully put some sanity in how citizen journalism and how every other person considers themselves a journalist. Maybe, hopefully that there'll be rules and regulations. That's
and registration of people, because some people also go out there and do their thing, and when you try to do a background check,
there's nothing.
Yes, sir.
Or they were peeling potatoes at some institution. So Patricia and Ndede, tell us about this bill. Break it down for us. Is it pretty much what we say? It needs regulation for people to do what we do.
First, I'd like to mention that the Public Relations Society of Kenya is the umbrella body for all PR and communication management practitioners in Kenya. We have a membership of 15,000, and this comes from the public sector, government agencies, parastatals, counties, the academia, development sectors, and so that makes a whole myriad of PR and communication practitioners. We have been in existence for 52 years now, and I think we have come of age as a practice to actually have things in order and have our practice regulated, just to bring in sanity and to ensure that this practice has rules and regulations, just like a car that has a speed governor, just to ensure that everything that is being done systematically and scientifically. So anyone who's interested in the practice has to have some basic requirements for entry. We have a lot of people practicing by virtue of them liking the profession, but not quite, polished to ensure that the theories that you learn in school, what happens to you if you don't observe certain things, the elements of media law, media ethics also come in to this, which is learned. So much as the craft is there, there's a passion for it, and people are practicing, but there's that other element that needs to be, put in place so that it's a good fit, and the practice is governed, and the practice has some sanity, doing away with what we call quacks, because everybody now has a smartphone, and with a smartphone you can do so much. So much as you're tweeting, much as you're taking pictures, much as you have social media handles, then people assume that it's done. I'm a journalist.
Yeah, that is a credible source.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily like that.
Yes.
But how do you curb that, Patricia? Because in this day and age of socials, like you said, everyone's a journalist. Everyone's a citizen journalist.
And some people know how to make viral content, and that's some people said, I think this is a good journalist.
You really can't stop people from taking pictures and doing whatever they want to do with their phones.
Yes.
That's a whole monster in its own. But when we talk about the practice, when you talk about communications and PR practitioners in the workspace, when you talk about employers seeking to find people to, sit in and be those people handling the PR and communications in their organizations, where are they coming from? What do they have? What are their basic, where have they schooled? What certification do they have? Do they understand that if they do something, then these are the repercussions? Them being the face of that organization and them being the mouthpiece of that organization, what are the do's and the don'ts? And just like our colleagues in the legal practitioner, and the engineers, those in HR, when you look at how far they've come, they also have similar bodies. They also have certifications. They also have an association that they have to pay for membership, they have to be in good standing, and even when applying for jobs, for instance, even before this bill goes through, when you look at the requirements for the jobs that are advertised for PR and communications, they always state that you must be a member of an association and in good standing. So this tells you that nobody just wants to onboard anybody. You have to have certain proper things that you have put in place that makes you stand out. And so this whole bill will ensure that we have sanity, as I said, and there's regulation, and that, we practice, we're not looking out to lock out anyone, but to restore sanity and ensure that we have things in place that will ensure that as a practitioner, I'm liable. If I don't do this, then I'm deregistered. The same way legal practitioners, you cannot represent anyone in court, a client, if you're not in good standing.
Tell me something, how far is this bill along?
It has been approved by Cabinet, so that tells you that it has come a long way. And so we are now looking at the next steps. And of course, there's lobbying to be done. It's a government-sponsored bill. And also just ensuring that there's public participation to ensure that all the parameters are in place and that it is something that is sound and that is something that is going to be fair to all within the industry. So be it in the advertising agencies, be it for consultants, those in private practice, for those in academia and government agencies, there'll be something for everybody. And at least it's going to bring in, it's an eye-opener, where we're saying we have come of age, and coming of age means that we're putting our house in order.
Like you said, there's a lot of quacks, but some people are just passionate about public relations, and obviously passion is one thing, but this is what you need to have before you can be able to legally be employed somewhere, or how will you go about it?
We are not all on the same level.
Yes.
We have students, we have people who have just begun practicing fresh from school, we have those who have lasted for years. We go up, we have fellows, those who are respected within the industry, and of course have things to show, their achievements. So it's not a one size fits all, but what we are saying is that it has different things, and we most importantly, the same way we have CPA exams for the accountants, and the KSL exams, and IHRM also have that. We also have a certification course in partnership with Daystar University.
Okay.
Yeah, for instance. So you coming in and saying that you are fit for this, you have to have some basic requirements. You may be good at what you're doing, but it's like baking a cake. The cake is there, yes, but you have to put icing on the cake to say this is the final product. So you at least have to have some knowledge, some basic knowledge, have gotten to a class of communication, PR, what is media ethics, what is communication in the first place, what is media law, what is libel. If I go on air, for instance, and say something against Jeff, which is not true, then, there are consequences for that. And if I am talking on behalf of my organization, for instance, then it is my organization that is in hot soup. So I have and take the responsibility. And how do you take that responsibility? By going through the processes, going through certification, going through some knowledge.
People talk badly about others every single day, but they use synonyms or they use pseudonyms, right? It's not their real names. And then when you track them down, you can never find them. PR
and communications is a very thin line with media practice. So basically what you're talking about is the reserve of say the Media Council of Kenya, because that is the element of the practice within media. But for us in PR and communications, it's a little different. It's a very thin line, I could say. But for what you're talking about, as a journalist on radio or on TV, and you mention something, that would be the reserve of, say, the Media Council of Kenya, not necessarily the Public Relations Society of Kenya.
Will you also be regulating schools? Because I know, like law schools, not everyone can offer a law degree, medical also the same. And there's so many, what do you call this, the two colleges downtown that will also fall under some sort of regulation in the bill.
Not necessarily, because that is the preserve of the Ministry of Education.
So it's their products that
Yes,
need
it
to
is
be...
their products. But for us, we have, as I mentioned, a certification program, and we're doing this in partnership with Daystar University.
Okay.
Right.
And will there be a code of conduct for public relations advocates and practitioners?
Exactly. There will be. You have to, in practice, for example, those in the private sector, consultants, you have to pay a certain annual fee. And if you haven't paid that, then you can't practice. You have to ensure that your licenses are in order. For individuals, of course, you have membership. You have to ensure that your annual subs are paid, and so on. So it's not a free-for-all, really. It just ensures that there are checks and balances in the whole field.
When you compare us with our neighbors, you're saying Tanzania has an equivalent, as does Uganda?
Well, in terms of associations, just like the PRSK, Tanzania has Public Relations Society of Tanzania. Uganda has Public Relations Association of Uganda. And Tanzania has been 7 years in existence. Uganda has been in existence for 47 years. We're a little older. We're doing 52 years now. But in terms of having a bill that regulates the practice, we will be the first to have that, if all goes well and it sails through. But in the continent, we note that Zambia has one, Ghana has one as well, and Nigeria. So in the East, we probably could be the first to have this, right?
For a lot of parents who or people interested in it, just give us holistically, like a one sentence, what public relations is first and foremost, so that we can also justify why there's a bill that needs to bring regulation into all of this.
Public relations is an art at the same time as science. An art because you deal with people most times.
Yes.
And dealing with people requires a lot of understanding. Understand your audience, understand who you're speaking to, know when to go high, know when to go low, and how to speak and have your message put across, okay? And the scientific bit of it is basically how you ensure that certain things are done, processes, it's process-oriented.
Yes.
So when you're doing something in PR, what do you start with? How do you go about it, and how do you end it? So for parents, as to your point, it is a profession like any other. But for a very long time, the PR profession, PR and communications, has not been taken up very seriously. And this is a challenge to us as practitioners, those who are coming up, the younger ones who are just getting into the workspace. Sit up, show up, and be counted. Make sure that whatever you do is very strategic. Most times people end up, where are those camera guys? Where are those PR guys? Let them carry the banners. Or when it comes to sitting on the table, talking about strategic issues, making sure that management is picking something from you, as getting something from you to have as a solution to the management challenges that are happening. Most times we are not at the table, and no one is going to put you on the table. No one is going to take you there. And if and when you get a chance to be on that table, make sure that you have what it takes. Because if you're not at the table, what are you? Are you sitting to eat, or are you the one being eaten? Are you the meal? So you have to run as fast as possible as a PR practitioner to ensure that you have the basic skills, to ensure that you have the appeal, and to ensure that whatever contribution you're giving within your space is something that is a game changer and something that is value addition to the management, so that if any deliberation is being done, they will stop and say, okay, so would you please call Jeff from PR, the comms department. Let's have his take. What is Nick talking about? Because this is very important. When a crisis happens is when they look for you, PR and comms. But that shouldn't be the case. You should be at the table from the very start of the conversation. And your contribution will ensure that any crisis is mitigated so that you don't get to that end where it's firefighting, running around all over the place. But even as you're firefighting, managing this crisis, you're firefighting because you have just been called in, like an ambulance, but you don't know what happened, how this started out. And you're asking, so what happened? How did this come about? But if you're there from the word go, then I'm very sure, the crisis would not be what it is, if at all.
Okay, real quick, you're having your annual summit, later this month?
Yes, we're having our annual summit, which is our biggest event of the year as PRSK. We're having it in Diani this month, 27th of November to the 1st of December, and it is Africa's largest communications conference. And we are saying that our theme is retrospect, reimagine, reposition, adapting agile PR practices to cope with a rapidly changing environment. Yep.
And then there'll be awards. You usually have your annual awards day, don't you? Or,
we usually have our awards, and this is just to recognize award-winning campaigns by members through the year.
Excellent.